Hey guys, Adam Lavelle in the wee hours of the morning. It's just after 2 a.m. I decided to stay up and record this video. I'm not going to premiere it at this time. I'm going to put a hold on it and have it premiere sometime tomorrow afternoon. But what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about bare knuckle boxing, formerly known as BYB, which is just crazy to think about how far this company's come. I mean, this is a backyard thing. That's what BYB was for, backyard brawl. Now it's world famous bare knuckle boxing, taken seriously. I don't want to say this stuff isn't taken seriously, but let me tell you this. When I turned this on, this show was called Battleship 1 from 2019, so we're going back a little way, 6 years or so. When I turned this on YouTube, my first thought was like, I'm not going to watch this. I'm just being honest. Okay, I wasn't really being fair, but that was my first thought. Now, there were some things that were similar, but not much. First of all, this no gloves. That's my favorite thing. Drop the gloves, right? Drop the gloves. I love that. No rounds. No rounds. Every fight is 10 minutes here, okay? But there's no rounds. There's no stopping. There's no sitting on the stool. There's no getting your cuts looked at. It is fighting until somebody is done or 10 minutes expires. And then a winner is decided by points, right? Wow. Of course, there's no groin strikes, no hitting behind the head, no hitting a guy when he's down, no hitting while you're grabbing the fence. Simple rules like that, right? But the no rounds thing and the trigon, the mighty trigon, right? It's a cage. It's a triangle cage. So the cage and the no rounds thing had me wondering, I don't know, the look of this thing, it wasn't horrible looking, but it looked like it was in some dusty old building. Commentators were decent, not incredible, not as good as what I'm used to now. The camera work was pretty shoddy. I mean, they probably did what they could, so I don't want to insult whoever was doing it back then. Excuse me while I get a little more comfortable in my chair. I don't know. I did not expect to like this. And along the way, boy, did I change my mind. The no rounds thing worked. It just added more intensity to the fights. More danger, of course, as well. Because, like I said, nobody's getting their cuts patched up. Nothing. It was incredible. Watching guys fight for 10 straight minutes happened a few times here. Incredible. 10 straight minutes, no breaks. I know in between rounds isn't very long, but you can catch your breath. You can get a drink of water. You can have that bleeding eye looked at. Not here. Nah, ain't happening. But let's jump into this show. Kicked off with John Michael Escoboza taking on Delvin Stanley. And this went 10 freaking rounds. 10 minutes of these guys pounding on each other. Like I said, the trigon was a cage. Not a ring. Didn't make a big difference. The camera crew was a little rough. But you could still see Escoboza applying more damage than Stanley did. So he gets the win after the 5 rounds. But this was an entertaining match. Seriously, on the edge of my seat. Was it the best fight I ever saw? Hell no. None of these fights were the best fight I ever seen. None of them were terrible, except the couple free matches you get at the end here. Not that you have to pay for this, it's on YouTube. But a couple of the extra standby fights that they have when this is over, I do not recommend them. No offense to anyone that was in them. The third one wasn't bad, but I'm getting off course. Oh my God. Remember, it's 2:20 in the morning. Escoboza defeated Stanley in a 10-minute brawl. These guys just went at it. The fact that neither one of these guys went out, got knocked out, or just tapped out from exhaustion, in and of itself is big applause for both men. But Escoboza gets the first win in bare knuckle boxing's first big show when it was called BYB back in 2019, Battleship 1. Apparently this was supposed to be on some type of cruise ship, and it fell apart at the end. But that's fine. I enjoyed it for what this was, and it was some pretty solid stuff. Second fight, another 5-rounder. Don't worry, this doesn't happen the whole way through, but I'm sorry. To watch these fighters who, or sort of look like they're in some kind of back room somewhere. Definitely looks underground, even though it wasn't here. This was sanctioned. On Battleship 1 2019, George Montana and Juan Vasquez just beat the living hell out of each other for 10 minutes. They just did. Montana won it because he was simply more aggressive. Because what Vasquez decided to do was counter. And that's, look, I understand that is a big style of fighting. Counter fighting wins matches. Counter fighting lands big shots. But if you don't ever land the big shot when you're counter fighting, you're going to lose 9 times out of 10. Because you're counter fighting waiting to get a big knockout blow. To get big points every time you counter. I'll let him swing at me, but I'm going to counter. Okay, I get it. I get the strategy. And when it works great. But when it doesn't work, I'm telling you, most of the time, it doesn't work badly. And that's what happened here with Montana winning it because he was aggressive and Vasquez not being able to land that big blow. Just trying to counter. Didn't work for him. But I really enjoyed this. There was nothing technical here at all, except Vasquez's attempt to be a counter fighter not working. But I'm not going to call that technical fighting. But it was an absolute fight, an absolute battle. Another one that went 10 minutes. And these were big guys. Big guys, heavy guys. Of course, they were slowing down at the end, and there wasn't a whole lot of power behind their blows because they were completely gassed. But it takes a special kind of athlete to fight 10 straight minutes. And yeah, I'm harping on that, but I'm sorry, it's a big deal. It was an incredible to see. But big win here by Mr. Montana. Meet me in Montana. I like that song. Next fight was Alex Sombrerba taking on Mikey Delgado in a very exciting fight. I really enjoyed this one. Sombrero was the shorter fighter, and he used several leg kicks. He didn't overdo it. You know how a lot of times you see guys kick the leg over and over and over. There's a great strategy behind that. He just kicked him a couple times. He kicked Delgado, wanting to wear him down, and it worked. He didn't win by leg kicks, of course, but Delgado seemed a little guarded and ended up coming down a little bit, like shortening himself to protect himself in some way, backing up in some way, and that helped a lot because Sombrerba is the smaller fighter here. He's the shorter fighter. When Delgado came down, he ended up getting hit right in the face and pretty much took a knee and allowed himself to be counted out, giving the win to Sombrerba by TKO. You have to see this fight, though. I don't feel like I've explained it enough, but the shorter fighter in Sombrero really came forward, leg kicking down Delgado until he got one shot in his head, side of his head. I think it was right around the right temple. Delgado was done, took a knee, and just allowed himself to be counted out. It was almost like Sombrero won by submission. Interesting fight, for sure. Next up, we had Alfonso Frierson took on Jesus Madrid in another terrific fight. Sensing a theme here. This fight, though, almost had me jumping out of my desk chair. I wanted to get up and cheer as if I was in the crowd. I'm completely serious. He goes by Alfonso Chocolate Frierson. Dominated the fight. The Colombian, Jesus Madrid, the Colombian, never backed off or down. I mean, this kid, this is what I'm jumping up and down for. I was jumping up and down for the loser. I can't say I was rooting for him because I'm enjoying Alfonso's work, but the heart, think of the first Rocky movie, how he got pounded. I know it's Hollywood, but just play along with me here. Rocky gets pounded, right, by Apollo Creed and loses in the end, but the story was the heart and the drive of this guy from Philadelphia, I can't do a Rocky accent, who just came in. I know I sounded more like Arnold, but it's 2:30 in the morning. He gets pounded, but the story was, wow, you just got goosebumps watching this up-and-comer hang with the champion who probably shouldn't even have had the title shot, right? That was similar to this. I mean, this kid was something else. The Colombian, he goes by the Colombian, Jesus Madrid. But we got to pay attention to Alfonso Chocolate Frierson because he won this because he was just more aggressive and got more shots and looked more powerful, even though, thanks to the Colombian, Jesus Madrid, this was a hell of a fight. And congrats to the winner, Alfonso Frierson, but also props to Jesus Madrid for hanging the way he did. The next fight up was Jamaritus Johnson taking on Fred Saavedra, and this didn't last long. Why? Because Johnson came out like a loon. I mean, he just head down, swinging, flurried. He came out I'm sure he trains, but he came out like an untrained goof. And who am I behind a keyboard to say that? I'm just saying what I see. You know, he just really shot out there, wanted to put on a show, had a lot of flurries there in the beginning. But what Saavedra did was just put his guard up. He didn't get hit with hardly any of them. I mean, old Johnson's just hammering away at his arms, you know, while they're up over his face. And he bided his time, did Johnson, until he landed one big body blow to Johnson, who completely gassed himself out trying to end the fight quickly with a bunch of flurries, and he was down. And it was over quickly. And you can't say in the first round, in the first couple minutes. There are no rounds, remember? Fights last 10 minutes. In the first few minutes, old Johnson, you know, smoke dog is what he goes by, got smoked by Jamaritus Johnson, who just waited, Fred Saavedra just waited until he got that body blow. Bing, bang, boom. Saavedra gets the big win as the smoke dog lays on the mat out from a body blow. Fun, interesting. Just wondering what the smoke dog was doing. Don't want to accidentally say smoke show, right? Good fight for what it was. Next up, we had Rene Rodriguez taking on Victor Mateus, and this was over within the first minute or so of the fight. I think it was 3 minutes, but within the first minute, Victor Mateus was knocked down 3 times. And by 3 minutes, he was knocked down a 4th time, and he did not get back up. I mean, Rene Rodriguez is known as the white boy, even though I believe he's Puerto Rican, Rodriguez, right? But he's known as the white boy because he's very pale. Maybe even paler than I am, especially since I was out on the golf course today, and I look a little red. But Rodriguez was impressive as hell here. I don't know how good or not good Mateus is, Victor Mateus. Quick Vic, he goes by. But this was not even a contest, honestly. I mean, this might have been a showpiece to get white boy Rodriguez over, and if it was, it worked because he looked great here, won with big giant blows, and put Victor Quick Vic down on his butt, and it was over practically before it started. But I enjoyed it. I did. Then we had Cedric James. He came out, and he's going to show us why he's called the Gorilla, right? Now, he's called Cedric the Gorilla James, and he comes out and takes on Michael Phillips, King Mike. Well, King Mike lost his crown, and he fell down in the corner. I mean, one of these blows by the Gorilla was so hard to Phillips that he just melted, basically. And I know that's the Wicked Witch, you know, with a bucket of water, not a king. But, I mean, it was bam! I saw Phillips, who's a big dude. Both these guys are big, giant heavyweights, right? It looks like Phillips was lifted up off of his feet and thrown into a corner, almost like a professional wrestling move, whenever Cedric's big hands just hit him in the side of the head, and that was it. That was it. The ref had to rescue King Mike Phillips from the Gorilla. He had to. He had to stop it, and he did stop it, and that was the win. The Gorilla gets the big win. He was another one who impressed me. The White Boy and the Gorilla. And their names that they definitely were pushing here. And I'm not saying the fights are rigged in any way, but sometimes you throw a tomato can in there, right, to get a guy over, to get a big pop, to get people being like, oh, I want to see more of these guys. I don't know if that was the case here. I don't care, because it worked if it was, and if it wasn't, it worked like it was. You know what I'm saying? And finally, we are up to the main event here, and it was Jermaine Barnes taking on Arturo Gullion. It was a solid fight, just over 6 minutes, until Gullion simply gave up. Couldn't take any more. Couldn't take any more abuse. It was a solid fight for those 6 minutes. I mean, you go 6 out of 10 minutes. Again, no breaks, no timeouts, no bells. 6 out of 10 minutes is still pretty damn good for the Butcher, right? That is Arturo. He's known as the Butcher, Gullion. Jermaine Barnes, he's known as Redman. I don't know where that nickname comes from. But he was just more solid, and he pretty much beat on the Butcher until the Butcher tapped out, took a knee, and said, I can't take any more. And that was over, giving the win in the main event to Jermaine Barnes. Now, like I said, it was a great match. Great fight. Like I said, there were 3 other fights at the end of this. I don't recommend them. The third one isn't bad. I'm sorry I didn't really take notes on them, because the first 2 were so bad that I almost just turned it off. I mean, I love this show. Don't get me wrong. The show was great. Let's stop talking about those 3 extra fights and tell you right now, enjoyment-wise, and please bear with me on this rating. Enjoyment-wise, like how much did I enjoy watching this? 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Technically, what do I give the show based on the skill of the fights, the technicality of the fights, the production, the look, the feel? It's an 8 out of 10. You know, it's missing some stuff, but this is brand new, and it gets to where it's at today, and that's good stuff, even though BKB gets knocked for not having as high production values as Fighting Championship. I guess that's true. But if the fights are good, that's really all that matters. And these fights were good, and they were entertaining, and I expected to not like this, and I really enjoyed it. Except for those 3 extra fights. I mean, there's 2 ladies that fight first. It looks like a fight in a McDonald's parking lot. And there's 2 men that fight after that. The one literally charges in with his head down the whole way, not even looking. He just charges like he's going to spear his opponent, right? He's going to spear him or something. I don't think that's what he was going to do, but that's what it looked like. Then he gets kneed in the head. Pretty much loses. And then the 3rd fight, that might be worth watching. It was pretty solid. It was pretty decent. But it's like, if I'm either going to cover these extra fights or I'm not, and I decided not to. Because 2 out of 3 were horrible, and I would have had to include it in my rating, and I don't want to do that because it would have got a 6 out of 10. That's how bad 2 of those were. They were terrible. I'm sorry. They were terrible. But the show was not highly recommended. 10 out of 10 for my enjoyment. 8 out of 10 for, you know, everything else about it. So let's average that out to a 9, right? 9 out of 10. Excellent show. Again, I can't recommend it enough. And I'll watch the next one soon. But good start for BYB until it morphed and melded into the excellent company we have today and BKB. I'm Adam Lavelle again, and I'll be back with more discussion on bare knuckle fighting before you know it.